Hey guys, welcome to Peripheral Vision, and today we are taking a look at the Nintendo Wii Remote, more commonly known as the Wiimote. And the Wiimote is an interesting little controller. It is the controller that came bundled with the Nintendo Wii, and normally on any given day you would ask me, hey Eric, what's your favorite Nintendo controller? And I would say either the GameCube or the Super Nintendo. Those are the ones that I think are most comfortable or most nostalgic for me. But the Wiimote, I think, is the most interesting, and it's actually my favorite to talk about as far as Nintendo controllers go, because it is deceptively simple. You see, it looks very basic. It kind of looks like an NES controller with its sideways design, just kind of play it normally, and not really a lot to it. However, there's a lot more behind it. It's got a lot of interesting functions. So, let's open this up and find out what I'm talking about. And here we are, the Wiimote. Again, it looks pretty simple, and the first thing you notice is that there are two little things that are off of it, or hanging off of it. The first of which being the little rubber jacket, and this is to cushion it from falls, give it a little bit of extra resilience as far as wear and tear. And then there is the strap, which you can wrap around your wrist, and then there's a little locking mechanism. You can pull it back and tighten it as you need to. But why would it need so much extra cushioning and a strap? Well, because the Wiimote, the big selling point of the Wiimote actually, is that it is a motion controller. And one of the revolutionary motion controllers actually, most of the time people would actually hold it like this. That's why it's called a Wii Remote, because normally you'd be holding it like a remote controller. There are accelerometers built into it, as well as sensors that allow the Wiimote to sense when you're moving. You can shake it, you can point it as a remote, you can do a lot of different things with this, and the big example of that was Wii Sports. Wii Sports was the game that came bundled with the Wii, as well as the controller and stuff, and you could use the Wiimote as like a baseball bat, or like a golf club, or all these different things, and people they went nuts over it. It sold millions and millions of copies, and it's all due to this very basic, streamlined motion control setup. Now, even with the motion control setup, it is still pretty basic, and I know a lot of people would say, well, Eric, there was a lot of shovelware with that Wii Motion setup too, so you can count that motion stuff as a detriment as much as a positive. Well, I agree, there's a lot of shovelware, but even outside of the Wii Sports, there were a lot of games that utilized the motion controls effectively. And even without that, we've got a lot of other stuff that can be connected to it. You see, if you look on the bottom here, there's actually a little port. And the purpose of that port is to connect additional parts of the controller. Now, as I mentioned before, there was a nunchuck add-on, which was this guy. The nunchuck would connect this part to the bottom, and you could use it as a directional pad, as well as some extra buttons. And this was used for games like Donkey Kong Country Returns and Super Mario Galaxy, and it was a nice sort of 1-2 punch. You could also use it for boxing games like, what was it? The Punch-Out Wii, for the Wii. And there was a few others where you could use these in conjunction, like there's a Maraca game where you could use them both. So it was a nice little two-thing with the motion controls, as well as a general added directional pad in case you wanted to have an analog stick. There were also a number of other connecting pieces to this, including the two classic controller variations they came out with. This one, which was the first, and then this one, which was the second. And these two obviously connected to the bottom, and you could use the classic controllers for virtual console games or a handful of games such as, I think Smash Bros. Brawl supported the classic controllers as well. But there was even more stuff you could do with the Wii. But before we get that, let's go ahead and use a Wiimote that doesn't have all this extra junk on it, also to show that there were some other colors, and take out the pink Wiimote that I have. Now, the Wiimote Rainbow came in a number of different colors. The ones that I know of currently are the black, red, pink, blue, and obviously white. And there were probably more. There were special editions as well. But this was one of those colors. And we're going to use this to show off some of the other things that you could do with it. So, the Wiimote with its Motionplus was pretty cool just on its own. If you just wave it around and stuff, that's cool. But third-party companies, as well as Nintendo companies, made a bunch of plastic peripherals that you could connect this into, and I've talked about many of them on the channel, and you could just simulate the feeling more. Let me give you a specific example. Let's take the Wii Wheel, something you could just plug in the Wiimote to, and then you'd have a wheel, and you have a more tactile sensation of driving. There is also the Wii Zapper, where you could plug in the Wiimote, and then you have to plug in the nunchuck down here, but you could use it for shooting games. And this was really just the tip of the iceberg, but those were two of the official Nintendo ones, so I wanted to show off that idea that these Wiimotes could also be used with additional plastic peripherals. And that is it for that stuff. Now, the Wii Motion was great. Well, depending on the game. But the Wii Motion was a cool idea, if nothing else. However, they decided they wanted to do more with it. They wanted to have a more refined Wii Motion. So they came out with little adapters. I don't have the adapters with me, but they had adapters that could plug into the bottom here, and it would allow you more refined motion controls. They called them Wii Motionplus adapters. So you could just plug them in the bottom. They did even make rubber casings for them. I'd have one somewhere, but if you really wanted that Wii Motionplus, though, they had you covered with the Wii with Wii Motionplus inside. These are the Wii Motionplus controllers. Now, the big difference, obviously, is that these have Wii Motionplus built into them. However, there are two other, and I think really interesting notable differences, in the fact that if you turn it around, you'll see that the sync button, which had previously been hidden behind the battery pack, right there, was now exposed. If you open it up, you'll see that this, if you press it into the controller, it will click the sync button so you can sync it to the sensor bar. And they even changed the actual strap thing. There are two different straps. These two are different, and the difference is this one has this little pointy thing where you could easily click the sync button without having to open up the controller. And I thought that was great that they listened to people's complaints, because whenever I'm testing Wii's at where I work, the not having a back, the having to take off the back and sync every time, that's a huge pain in the butt. And that is it. Both the Wii Mote and the Wii Motionplus Wiimote, in all of their glory. Were they the greatest things ever? Were they the dawn of a new age of gaming? No. In retrospect, the motion control phase kind of died out. But they were an interesting idea. They brought a whole new array of gamers, a new casual market opened up because of these, and I think they're a really cool piece of Nintendo history. And as always, later days.